And we're live. Welcome to the Power Man Podcast, everybody. My name is Rorypaquette, and I am, as always, your very humble host. I know a lot of you don't believe that at this point, but I still am your humble host. Believe me, I love this job. Thank you for joining us today. We have a very, very special episode. I'm a huge fan of this guy. Been trying to get him on the podcast for a while. Our schedules just did not want to mesh no matter what. He's busy. I'm busy. It's been just crazy. We've had, tropical storms knock out my internet when I was trying to talk to him the first time. And he held through and stood fast and still took my call when I called back and said, "Hey, would you still like to be on here?" So I want to welcome to the Power Man podcast country music singer, Christian country music singer, Shellem Cline. Shellem, how you doing, man?
Doing well, brother. How are you doing?
If I was any better, they have to pass a law against it.
Hey, I'll tell you for sure. I hear that.
Listen, Shellem, I love your story. You and I have gone back and forth a little bit, and I've gotten to listen to your music that's out there. I love your stuff.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah,
Only
I
person that's
just
ever told me that, actually.
really.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. But I tell people all the time that they come up and they say, "I love your stuff," and I said, "Are you actually loving it, or are you just saying that to make me feel good about myself?" All right, which one?
Ah, gotcha. Well,
There you
you kind of caught me because I've been a country music fan my whole life,
Right.
and I got into Christian country when I was in college, and
Okay.
around that time, and I actually like this type of music. My youngest son has taken on my taste in music also, so he follows and likes country music too.
All right.
Um, and when I first found you, I played one of your songs for my wife, and I was like, "You got to listen to this guy. I haven't heard him before." And she was like, "Oh, that's really good." And she goes, "Is that Rascal Flatts?"
Yes,
That's
that's
what she said.
awesome. That is
So,
awesome.
I mean,
Now
I
that's a compliment. That's a compliment right there.
there you go. I
Yeah,
said, it sounds like it a little bit, but you know what? No, it's this
that's
guy, and I talked to her about
awesome.
you.
Yes. I'm
So
gonna have to tell my wife that I was just compared to Rascal Flatts and be like, "Hey, baby, how you doing?" and see what she says.
That's street cred right there for you, brother.
That's exactly right. I'll take points for that. That's
Right
cool.
on, right on. All right, yeah. I tell you what, I've been talking to you, and I know that that our listeners are going to want to know, who you are, where you got started, but just as kind of a lead in, to begin with, you're not some out of touch superstar. You are actually a regular guy behind the scenes. You've got three kids.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and let me just I gotta spell this out for all my listeners because I got dads listening who are just gonna do the same thing when I first heard it. You've got a fantastic wife, sounds like, which
Right.
is great. You've got three girls,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to let you tell the ages of these wonderful kids just real quick.
Okay. I've got a 7-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 5-year-old.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Someone say Valium. All right. And get this. Now get this. All right, so my 7-year-old is my 7-year-old and my now 5-year-old are my biological kids. And my 6-year-old is what I call my bonus munchkin. She's my wife's child. This is my second marriage. But I'm still her dad, she's still my kid, no matter
That's
what. She's
awesome. Yeah.
and I picked them up from school one day, and my 7-year-old informed me that she had a boyfriend.
At
And when
seven.
at 7, and when she said that, my 6-year-old was like, I have a boyfriend too. And here we are. I'm going down the road. These two are sitting in their car seats in the back seat discussing how handsome, not pretty, but handsome these boys are because boys have to be handsome. And I finally made the statement to them, you are allowed to date when you're 50 and you can get married when you're 65. All right. That's the rules in my house. They don't like that rule, but that's the rule in the house.
That's a lot to hear that at seven, man.
I'm not,
Seriously.
I'm like, yeah, no, 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 sorry, not happening. Not, no, no, sorry,
My
no.
goodness, man. I have three kids too. Most of my listeners know I've got three kids, and I've got two strapping boys that are both bigger than I am, and I've
Right,
got my oldest though is my daughter. She's my
right.
baby girl, and I remember the first day that I heard her talking about another boy, And I think
Yeah.
she was around maybe, 8, 9, something like that, only a little older than that. And my whole world stopped,
Yeah.
just stopped cold.
So,
I was
I
like,
mean,
excuse me?
somebody punched you in the gut is exactly what. And I'm just like, no, I'm not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that. Well,
Yeah.
and then of course, obviously it's Christmas time. And Lena, my 5-year-old, she went up to Santa Claus the other day. And we're sitting there. And remind you, my other two's already got boyfriends, right? Well, she asked Santa Claus for a baby brother. I looked at and Santa looked at me, and I just looked at him, and I looked at my wife. I said, not happening. I'm 0-3 on girls. That means we've struck out. I'm sorry, kids. The World Series is over. Okay, we're done. Not happening.
You're not going to
And
risk that fourth girl, huh?
no, no, and it's been quite humorous because they have reminded me of that like every single day. And my wife even told me, she was like, "What do you think about having another baby?" I looked at her, I was like, "I'm gonna need you to back it up right now. We are not eating. Nope, not happening. No, I'm still trying to deal with the whole boyfriend situation. Okay, we haven't got past that one yet."
Wow.
So
Well,
yeah.
how many number one singles do you have to have before you can have a fourth
Uh,
girl in the
my
house?
goal, when I get my 178,000th, we will have another kid. Okay, there we go.
All
170.
right.
That's what we need. That's what we need.
Your wife's probably going to listen to this. So I hope this isn't the first time
Probably
she's hearing
yes.
this.
Exactly. She'll be like, "What? Wait a minute."
Oh my
So
goodness, man. I mean, power to you, honestly, because I know what having one daughter was like and how tough that was just, being a father and going through all the stuff you're talking about right now.
right.
And if I'd have had to do that 3 times, I'm not sure I would have made it without like honestly killing somebody. I mean, just
Yeah.
taking somebody out.
I will tell you, and I'm going to be honest with you, more times than not, when I step on stage, it's a good thing I'm wearing boots because more times than not, my toenails are painted from where my kids want to paint my toenails. They have begged for me to let them paint my fingernails, and I'm like, yeah, can't do that. I'll let them do the toenails, all right, because nobody sees it. But yeah, it's crazy. But I will say, I was at a show and one time, and the one of the ladies there, I had posted on Facebook that my kids had painted my toenails, and they made me take my boot off on stage and show everybody my toenails. I was like, "Are you kidding me? Here we go." So
Man,
yeah,
that means that they're following you on Facebook, is what that means.
exactly. So it makes me
Yeah.
feel good, but yeah, yeah, a little on the embarrassing side for
Yeah,
sure.
I was just say I follow you on Facebook, and I've seen some of your lives and stuff. You are hopelessly outnumbered, man.
Oh yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah, crazy.
it's
It's
not even close.
yeah, no, I don't have a snowball's chance. All right, that's just all there
Yeah.
is to it. I don't have a snowball's chance.
Well, and so I mean, you're a serious player in the industry right now, and I mean, you've had quite a bit of success that I'm going to let you talk about here in a second. But how does somebody um, basically just say, "I'm going to be a musical performer. I'm going to be a Christian country singer, and I'm going to do it full time. That's going to be my job." I mean, what's your story? How do you get into that, man?
Well, all right. So as I was when I was born, it was really kind of funny. The day I was born, my mom and dad's preacher came, and of course, you know how preachers are. Right before they leave, they'll pray with you, right? And so they did. They prayed, and when he said "Amen," I grunted. And he looked at my mom and he said, "He will either be a singer or a preacher. You can mark my words." Well, here
Wow.
we are. Yeah. So needless to say, I grew up in a singing family. My family did like they obviously sung together, and my grandfather came off the road because he was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. Well, I decided to go into the music and just kind of do like a little part-time thing. And took a job as actually an activity director, go figure, at a nursing home after college. I've got a degree in political science and pre-law, but I didn't go back to law school because a girl broke my heart. All right, put it that way. So yeah, go figure, right? So I just took a job as an activity director at a nursing home. Absolutely loved it. And but during this time, I was able to start growing more on the part-time level until finally it just got to the point to where we had so many people calling, doing different shows. And I landed a major record deal. I'm now part of the Positive Country Records family. My very first record deal was Tire Swing Records, and then of course I was with Tire Swing for a few years, and then they just kind of faded out at when 2020 happened, and Positive Country Records, PCR as they call them, took over, which is basically a major market for Christian country music. They're a record label in Christian country, and so with that time, I took the plunge, if you will, of going full time in 2015. Um, about 3 months after my first kid was born, actually, went took the plunge, and I've just been rocking and rolling. And it's amazing how things happen because I get the opportunity to go out and we do churches, we do auction houses, we do campgrounds, we do fairs and festivals, we do theaters. Something right now that a lot of people are doing. There's a lot of different like civic organizations with senior groups and even dad groups. Just dads wanting to get together and hang out. Because I'll go in and not only will I sing for them, and I'll throw in some old country stuff too, but I'll share my story. It's more of a time for us just to be able to sit down and chit chat, and just kind of get on each other's level and share our stories. And so we've just been rocking and rolling ever since, and just trying to stay busy and stay motivated. Obviously, I write probably 95% of the stuff that I sing.
I was going to
Um,
ask you that. Yeah. Okay.
yeah,
So most
yeah,
of this is coming from you.
right. But not only do I write for myself, I'm also a songwriter in Nashville. I've got to go to Nashville basically every 6 weeks. And I do a lot of writing for other artists in the world of gospel music, in the world of Christian country, as well as even mainstream country. We've had some success there, and was able to kind of push that angle and get folks or getting some new material and things like that there as well.
Good deal. So that's multiple income streams trying to, kind of helping you out to get established too here. Did I lose you? Are you
Right,
there?
exactly. And
Oh,
so it's
okay.
a yeah, I'm still here. But yeah, that's I mean that's just kind of my story, and I love writing because it's funny because it's like a 3 minute story is what it is, and you got to jam pack everything into 3 minutes. But I love it, and that's how I'm able to express everything that's going on, and just trying to give hope and encouragement to everybody, including dads that's on the same page as I am. Just kind of give them that hope and encouragement for just a little bit.
How do you, I mean, I've always been curious about this. And since I'm, talking to somebody who actually does it, how do you come up with, I'm going to write a serious song. I'm going to turn this into a funny song. This is going to be more relaxed sort of family based song. I mean, does it just come out? Is it just like, here's my muse done? Or do you sit down and go, I need to write XYZ. This is what I'm going to work on?
Well, actually, to be honest with you, I have in my cell phone, I have a basically a list of different hooks. I tell people all the time, if we have a conversation, there's a 90% chance you're going to wind up in a song somewhere. It's just that simple. Something you're going to wind up in a song. And whether it's something that just catches my mind, something that's funny. I mean, I've written, I was telling you, of course, before this started, I've got a hilarious comedy song that we're going to be doing that's going to be coming out. And it's stupid, just stupid. Like, for example, I had somebody, there's a song that I do in my show called I Love You More Than Ice Cream. And there was somebody made the statement at an event. Him and his wife was just like bickering back and forth. Funny, they were just picking on each other. And he just looked down and he said, "But baby, I love you more than ice cream." And then of course it created a song, and here we go. And but I mean, it really depends. And when we get in the writers' room, I do a lot of writing with more art with more writers. So you'll have two or three of us in a writing room, and we'll just start throwing ideas out. And the next thing you know, we're going to town on a song.
That's amazing. That's where all this stuff comes from. That's just amazing.
Exactly.
Now, when you say funny song,
Mhm.
I know a little bit about the song, so I'm gonna just act like a little privileged over here on the side. But
There you go. There you go.
and no one's getting it out of me either. Okay, so
That's
it's gonna
right.
have to come from you.
Right.
But when I look at some of these other songs that I've heard of yours, one of the ones I played for my wife was "Dirty Dishes,"
Mhm.
just because that didn't strike me as something you'd consider a funny song. That was like really heartfelt.
Right. And that's the thing. And if you look at my like for example, our brand new tour for this year and our new album that was just released back in June is called Real Life. And all 10 songs on that album talks about real life. I
Hmm.
mean, and you got some fun hangout songs. Like for example, my youngest kid, Every year when I do a new album, because I usually do a new album between a year to 2 years apart. Okay. Every year that I do one, then one of the kids get a song on it. The last one, which was 2020 that we did, the last one it was a song for Ella, which is my oldest, my 7-year old.
Okay.
Her song is called Little Pink Glasses. Okay. That actually was a number one song for us. Actually, won Song of the Year in 2020 as well,
Wow.
for Christmas country. So that was her song. Well, Lena is the youngest, and she gets hers this time, and hers is called Pineapples and Flamingos. Right, and that was that I let them choose the title, and then I write a song to it. Millie, who is my bonus kid, my middle munchkin, hers is going to be on the next album, and she's already told me hers is unicorns and rainbows. That is all it's going to be, and so I mean, and that's what you do. You just deal with it. So, I mean, you've got kind-hearted, fun stuff like that, but then you get to songs like "Does Heaven Have a Dirt Road," which was a number one song for us, was our last number one.
Great song. Great
It's
song.
like dirty dishes, that literally just punches you in the gut and
Yeah.
just makes you realize that, there's things in life that we take for granted and that our world is not always like a bed of roses. I've got a really, really powerful song on this new album that will be released in 2023 as a single, but it's called A Piece of Wood. And it talks about the first verse talks about a kid playing baseball that nobody believed in. Second talks about a guy just like myself that left his hometown bound to be a star, but nobody believed in him. And then the very ending comes together and talks about Jesus Christ on the cross, and nobody believed in him, and how all three of those stories changed the world, changed history with a piece of wood. So, we've got some fun stuff. I usually kick off my shows with a song called Happy to Be Here. And it just simply says, "Hey, I'm happy to be here. No matter what's happening, no matter what's taking place, I'm just happy." Which is what we should be. It's a little hard. It's easier said than done, I guess you could say. But I mean, that's kind of how we pull it together. I want to make sure every show that we do has fun, inspiration, but also encouragement, because guys like myself, there's a lot of stuff that we're going through on a daily basis. And the whole society and the world today has been, guys just don't share what they're feeling. And it's hurt a lot of guys, and that's why the depression rate for men is through the roof and things like that. And if I can just give a little encouragement, just to put a smile on their face, even if it's a stupid song like "I Love You More Than Ice Cream," at least at least I've made a mark and shown a little bit of love, and made my light burn just a little brighter for somebody.
Absolutely. Now, does any of this, that you're wanting to pay forward and, put out there to try and help other people, does that come from, your upbringing, your parents? I mean, that type of thing? Or, do you
Yes.
come up with
Yeah.
this on your own?
Yeah. My mom and dad have just been, I mean, they've been my rock ever since I started this. They've been there and would travel with me, even growing up, doing the different dates. So yeah, yeah. My mom, whether they want to take credit, I'll give them credit for it. How about
Right on.
that?
I hope my kids do that one day,
There you go. There you go. Exactly.
A little
Exactly.
bit of credit for dad,
Yeah.
just a smidge.
Well, it's kind of funny because I've got a little brother that's 13 years younger than I am, and me and my little brother go back and forth every year to who is son of the year. And I'm good friends with Aaron Tippin, and so for my mom's birthday, my mom thinks Aaron Tippin walked on water. Okay, that's just how it is. And so for her birthday last year, I did like a FaceTime video with Aaron. And like my mom literally went to the floor. She was like in shock. And I looked at my little brother and I said, "You do realize I just won Son of the Year till Jesus comes back, right?" And he obviously he can't compete. That's just all there is to it. But so I'll give him credit because my mom even told Aaron Tippin that because he was like, "I'm proud of your son," and she's like, I taught him everything he knows." So I'm like, "See, my mama knows. She knows."
Right.
So yeah,
That's awesome. Growing up with all that kind of support, and they're still supporting you today. I mean, that's huge.
right,
A lot
exactly.
of us don't have that. That's really, really cool.
Yes, yes, sir.
And then obviously, I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff, on Facebook. Like I said, I've been following you for a while. I mean, your wife seems incredibly supportive of all of this.
Oh, she is. She's a real estate agent, plus a substitute teacher, so she's extremely busy, and just abs and can sing too. She can sing, yes, there has been talk about maybe a duo album coming out, and having Shellem and Megan. Who knows? But yeah, so we'll see what happens. I'm trying to get her. She loves to sing and she can belt out some notes. And doing karaoke, she's great. She loves it, but she's like, I just don't know. I don't know if I can do the whole stage thing. And that's what she says. And I'm like, well, you know what? Maybe one day. So I'm trying to teach her, a little bit. I need a retirement plan. That's what needs to happen here. And my kids too. I mean, my kids are obsessed with Dolly Parton right now. And my kids, like, you turn Jolene on, yeah, it's gonna be played like 12 times. They know every word to the song. It's yeah, yeah. So again, retirement plan. I'll take it.
That's awesome. Yeah. So Megan's going to get her song too, in addition to all the
Exactly. Oh, yeah.
kids,
I'll let her have her song for sure. But
but she's going
it's
to have to sing it.
exactly that's a great idea, actually. Make her sing her own song. I like it for sure.
You're blaming me for this whole mess now, aren't you?
You're right. You better believe it. It's gonna happen for sure. Well, funny thing, we're talking about my wife. If you notice, for those that can actually see the podcast, if you notice, I have the big bridge, as my background. My wife made me put that on there because she said that my office looked like 4 tornadoes touchdown and that it would be embarrassing. So that's why if you're seeing that my head looks a little weird when I move back and forth, it does. It's the whole background thing. But my wife made me do it, and I'm scared of her. So, oh,
That's
she
a
can
good
hear it.
place to be. That's a very good
Exactly.
place
If she
to
can hear us now, right? There you go.
be. Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I really didn't think you were sitting there in San Francisco, looking out the window, at the Golden Gate Bridge or whatever it is that's behind you.
Oh, yeah. I should have left it that way. Somebody would have thought that,
Yeah.
right? That's
Now
funny.
you've been doing this for 7 years. Then it sounds like, right? You went full time to 2015, and then
Yes, sir.
okay, all right, excellent. So you've had a lot of success in 7 years. I mean, not to be too
It's
boastful about you, but tell us about it, because I mean, you told me you had multiple number one singles. I mean, you go tell everybody, sing your
yeah.
own praises for just a minute. It's okay.
Well, I'm the kind of guy that you know what? I tell people this all the time, and I've had several radio DJs. They're like, "Man, you've got all these number ones." Blah blah blah. I put my pants on the same way everybody else does. That's just how it works, one leg at a time. But we have been blessed to have 11 number one songs so far. The very first number one song came in 2016 with a song called "Blue Jeans and Biscuits." Actually, shot in a little town called Maggie Valley, North Carolina, was where I wrote the song and was able to do a music video. And so when we went back, Maggie Valley, North Carolina is where we went. And you can actually go on YouTube, look up Blue Jeans and Biscuits and see the video. But we also did a commercial. Running joke is I can't stand collard greens at all. Like, I despise them. They are literally the most nastiest things you'll ever taste, ever. And for those of you out there that like collard greens, feel free to take my portion. All right. So I commend you and I have the utmost respect for you because I can't eat them. So y'all have fun. That's all I'm saying. But I put that in the song and they tried to feed me collard greens at that video thing. And I'm like, look, you better back up. That's all there is to it. It ain't happening. But so make sure you go check that out. Like I said, that was my very first number one song. Since then, Dirty Dishes was a number one song for us. And we have several charts in Christian country, but the main chart, if you will, is kind of the big boy, which is strictly spin based from radio stations. We've had 11 number one songs. And the latest, of course, was Does Heaven Have a Dirt Road? That was a number one song for July and August of 2022. So that was kind of cool to have a back to back month number one. And our current radio single right now is called Good Things, which actually we just found out yesterday is number 18 on the national chart for this month. So that's kind of cool. It's cool how it all works out and makes it happen. So yeah.
I mean, that's amazing. I know you don't want to, sing your own praises, and everything else. You're a very humble guy. I mean, you are, and I get it.
I mean, again,
But
I'm just blessed to be able to live the dream. This is something I love doing. I love getting on the stage. I love performing. We're in the middle of doing Christmas shows right now for the whole month of December. And I mean, it's just fun and just getting to see the smiles on people's faces and learning and understanding their story. That's what's the coolest part about it all is that we get to live and understand their stories.
Mhm.
And, that's what it's about, for sure. And again, I have people come up to me all the time and talk to me. And when they come, I ain't gonna lie, man, when they come up to me, my brain's working. And I'm like, yeah, you're going to wind up in a song somewhere. It's going to happen. So I always, that's my disclaimer. I tell everybody when we come up and start having a conversation. One of my best friends that I talk to all the time, he's been in about 8 songs so far. Something he said has been in 8 songs, and he keeps saying, "Where's my royalty money?" And I said, "You get to hang out with me. That's your royalties." And he's like, "Yeah, it's not worth it." So they keep me humble. They keep me humble.
Well, I'll be waiting on that Power Man song, okay, to
There
come
you
out.
go. There you go. Hey, maybe that's what we'll do. We'll get you a jingle. We'll do like a little theme song. So on all your podcasts, you could come out. Man, I like it. I feel the Lord all over it. There you go.
I'm really glad you just made that comment because that's my segue into my next question for you.
There
You
there you
know,
go.
you've got a great voice. You've got very clever lyrics. You know what I mean? I enjoy listening to your music because it's not just um, I can't anticipate the next word coming all the time. Like the first time I hear the song, I don't already know what you're going to say.
Right, right.
And so the next line could be, down the street, turn left, and I have no idea where you're going half the time. But I love that
Well, and I like
about it.
doing that because it keeps you on your seat and
Yeah.
it's not complacent, and it really makes you honestly, it makes you get involved with the song. It
Mhm.
makes you want to be a part of the song. And that's what real music does to you. You can head bob all day long to whatever the case may be, but at the end of the day, you want a song that's going to speak to you and really put you as the audience of the song. And that's what I try to do.
Yeah, you do a good job of that. What what no, like I said, you got a great voice and you're certainly talented. You could do anything you want. You could be in country music, so on. What your faith is obviously very important to you. I mean, just from talking to
Right.
you and getting to know you a little bit. But what makes you decide, hey, I'm going to designate myself Christian country and go that direction? I'm just curious.
Well, again, the faith part of it is what really gets me. Now, I've had the opportunity to do the whole mainstream country thing and have several friends in that vein, and wrote with several folks and hung out with several of today's big boys, if you will. But I feel like that the Christian country world goes a little deeper, and that's what I'm wanting. When you go, when you come to a Shellem Cline show, you're going to get just a few different things. Number one, I'm going to throw back some old country music. You're going to hear "Forever and Ever, Amen" by Randy Travis, in events like that are non-church settings. Let's put it that way. You're going to hear "Forever and Ever, Amen." You're going to hear "Paint Me a Birmingham." You're going to hear "You Got to Stand for Something or You'll Fall for Anything." Things that really touch home. Then you're going to hear some original tunes. You're going to hear some comedy, but at the end, I always like sharing my story because at the end of the day, you know what? I can entertain you with music all day long, but I have failed as a entertainer if I don't inspire you and encourage you in a world that is desperately needing inspiration. I mean, you can turn your television on and see that. So my goal ultimately at the end of the day is I want my lyrics, I want my genre to be able to inspire and encourage you. So when you have the worst day of your life, you can go home, you can sit down, watch TV, whatever it is, and remember that the good always outweighs the bad. It does. I mean, no matter what, no matter where you are, the worst thing possible. And honestly, there's been several things in my life. That is the phrase that's had to get me through it. Is the good always outweighs the bad? And you may not be able to see it, but you're part of a bigger plan. And what you're dealing with right now is just a piece of the puzzle. And at the end of it, you're going to be impressed of just how cool everything comes out.
That's one of the things that did impress me about you when you and I have been talking is that you're very genuine and you put a lot of yourself into your music and the inspirational thing you've been talking about. Obviously, we have similar missions for what we're trying to do. Here for husbands, fathers, but you know 11 number one singles and all kinds of success and chart toppers and fantastic wife, 3 great kids. You look at you from the outside and people think, hey, living the dream. absolutely living the dream. This is wonderful. Probably got gold plated, seats on his car and
Yeah, yeah. We'll
right,
go. We'll go
right.
with that.
But just from talking to you, I know that a lot of this stuff, a lot of wanting to inspire, fathers and husbands, and leave guys with, positive messages and things like that, does come from your own life because things haven't always been, all sunshine and roses for you. You've been through a few things.
Yeah, I went through one of the most horrendous times of my life in 2018. My first wife left me, and she got mad because of the fact that the lies that was coming out, I was able to prove to be lies. There's a song out right now that you don't lie about me, I won't tell the truth about you. Well, that's exactly what was happening with this situation. And so, as a punishment, I my kids, my 7-year old and now 4-year old, but at this time, my kids, literally, my youngest was 5 months old when this happened, and basically what had happened was she kidnapped my kids, for lack of better words. Now it's not technically called that, but she withheld them for 126 days. Was finally
How
able
long? How long?
126 days.
Oh my God.
The excuse the whole time was that the kids hated me. They were scared to death of me. Not quite sure how a 6-month old could be scared to death of you, but it was just one of those things to where it was manipulation to hurt me. That was the ultimate goal. And on day 127, or excuse me, on day 126, a judge finally I was able to get in touch with, and he forced her to let me have the kids back the following day. Well, when I picked my kid up, my now 7-year old, so my oldest at the time, she looked me in the eye and a tear started going down her face. And she said, "Daddy, I can't believe it." And I said, "What's wrong?" She said, "I was told you were killed in a car wreck." She thought I was dead. And that's the reason. That was what she was told. And, it started there. And I'm going to be honest with you, of course, not getting in and putting a depressing fact on everything, but that, with what we've had to deal with over the last 4 years of my life, that in itself is one of the nicer things that I've had to face going through this. And again, I won't get in and bore you with a lot of details, but there's a lot of things happening to my kids as a form of retaliation to me. My kids have opened up and explained some things that, I mean, as a dad, it makes you sick inside, but it also makes your hands tied because, let's face it, we're dads, and we
Right.
want what's best for our kids. And that's something that I've had to really deal with because my kids ask me, I mean, they point blank look me in the eye and say, "Dad, I thought you said I would never have to face this again." And what do you tell them? When you don't have that control because, well, honestly, the system as a whole doesn't really favor the men. Let's just call it like it is. And again, I'm not trying to throw anything or whatever, but I'm just being honest. And that's where a lot of my writing for my material comes from. Because at the end of the day, yeah, my full-time job is I get to sing and I get to write songs. And I can write hilarious songs to hopefully make you smile. But at the end of the day, I'm a dad. First and foremost, I'm a dad. And my kids deserve the very best. And so this is the way for me to express myself. And honestly, I'll tell you right now, there is a book sitting right here on my desk of songs that the world will never hear because it's just not pretty, and let's just put it this way. It's not Christian country.
There
Okay.
you
Just
go.
put it that way. And they'll never hear it, but it helps me, kind of get to that point. And I've met men over and over. I'm talking all over the United States as we travel and sing that's going through the exact same thing. And my goal is if I can help just one. Um, for example, I was in a little small town, did an event, and this lady came up to me and she said, "Will you take a moment just to talk to my son?" And she had her cell phone with her, and so I picked up the phone, and you could tell the young man was hurt. And so I asked him. I had a little bit of time, and I said, just meet me in the parking lot. And it was a little church. I did a church setting, and he met me there, and I got about 15 feet from his truck, and he reached over in the front seat and picked up a gun and put it to his head. I froze because I'd never been in that situation, but I asked him to tell me his story, and he told me for about 40 minutes his story. And I looked at him, and at that point, that guy could have cared less how many number one songs I've had. He could have cared less how many plaques I've got over here on my wall. Could have cared less. He just needed to know there was hope. Well, needless to say, when I started telling him my story and his story was the exact same story. Exact same. Including being told that they was killed in a car wreck, being withheld from his kids. Everything was the exact same story. The only difference is his was boys. And, he point blank asked me, he said, "Why do you think your God makes you go through this?" And so I looked at him, and because I'd been asking that question for 3 years. Why in the world am I having to face all this mess?
Yeah.
And I looked at him right in the eye because I got my answer that day. And I looked at him, I said, "It was for you." Because again, he needed to know that there was somebody else that had gone through what he was going through. And I just happened to be that person. And I was able to talk him out of suicide. He took the gun down from his head. And it was an opportunity for me to help someone that I had never met until that day, all because of my story. And like you said, I think you referenced this song earlier, maybe it was before the podcast began, but I've got a song called "Everyone Has a Story," and we do. And we as guys, I am the world's worst. We don't want to really share our feelings and what we're feeling because we're the tough guys. Okay, that's what we are. We're tough. But in all honesty, our story is made up of the good, the bad, and the ugly. There's a movie about that, right? And so it's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And we like sharing the good stuff because it makes us look cool. But what if the bad and the ugly is what we're really meant to share to help somebody else that we may have never even met, but is at the point to where they're just ready to end their life and be done? Because my thing is this, each and every one of us, and if anybody's out there listening, I'm going to look right in the camera and I want you to know this. You have a purpose. You have a plan. And you are amazing. All right. You're a cool dude. I wish I was cool, but I'm not. I'm just a weirdo redneck from North Carolina for sure. That's what my kids call me. But, you've got a purpose, you got a plan, and there's somebody that's watching you. And you were born to be a leader. Like you said, you're born to be a power man. So take that power and use it because you are somebody's tower. You are somebody's strong tower. You just gotta be it. That's it. You just gotta be it. And if I can help somebody and encourage them a little bit, that's what my job is. Do I love to entertain? You better believe it. Do I love picking on people? You better believe it. Do I love to see people laugh? You better believe it. But at the end of the day, my job is to inspire you and encourage you so that you can be the absolute very best version of yourself that you can be. That's what my job is.
Amen, brother. Wow. If everybody could look at things that way with that lens and simply say, hey, why am I going through this? And maybe to consider the fact that you're going through it because you're going to have to help somebody else get
Right.
through it. And the fact that you made it is what just might make them put the gun down.
Right. And exactly. And that's the thing, what if I never had to go through that? Where would that young man be today? Who knows? If I would not have been able to share my story, where would that young man be today? It's that simple. And it's got to that point, and you're like, all right, you do have a purpose. You do have a plan. Every one of us does. I'll be the first one to tell you. Sometimes you have to face things you don't like at all. Trust me. I have yelled, screamed, hollered, jumped up and down, whole 9 yards. And my wife, now don't tell her this, but she reminds me all the time, you know, you've got a purpose and you're going through this. I can't stand that. Can I just be honest with you? Don't tell us that. I can't stand it when my wife's right. You know, go figure. How many of you men, I know right now, some of y'all were saying, preach, brother, preach. You know, some of y'all are saying that right now. But, you know, it's end of the day, and that was something that a good buddy of mine had to tell me the other day. And that's what he called me up and he was like, dude, I got to share my story, you know, and he had the guts or whatever to call me and tell me with everything that was going on in his life, which his stuff is a little bit different than what I'm facing. But he told me, he's like, I got to share my story today and help somebody, you know, and it makes you just feel good. It makes you feel good inside. Um, my tour back in 2020 was living the glass half full type of life. You know, again, even on the worst day of your life, the good outweighs the bad. So you might as well put a smile on it and have some fun, you know, for sure.
Right on. Absolutely. You know, it's our when we first started talking, I knew our missions were very similar.
Right.
We just do it very differently. You
Yeah.
know,
Exactly.
I'm over
Exactly.
here talking into the abyss, you know, and sharing, you know, what the pain I've been in and everything else, and you're over there just making these number one hits, man.
Well,
So,
we try, put it that way. We try.
yeah, right
That
on.
could all change tomorrow and I could be a has been. I will tell you, you know what's a very humbling experience?
What's that?
My wife and I was going through Walmart and this lady had one of my t-shirts on from 2016, the Blue Jeans and Biscuits tour, right? And I like having fun, I'm not gonna lie. So I walked up to her, I was like, that is an awesome shirt. Where did you get that from? Thinking she was gonna say, oh yeah, I went to this concert and bought it. Yeah. She said, I know. She said, it looks really cool. I found it for 25 cents at the Goodwill last week.
I thought you were
Yeah.
going to say garage sale or something, but yeah.
Yeah. And I looked at her and I was like, cool, you got it for 25 cents. I said, you know who it is? And she's like, no, never heard of it. I just thought it was a cool little saying. So I don't know who this guy is. And I was like, you have a good day. And I just turned and walked off. I didn't say anything further because, yeah, I mean, yeah, that was a way to be humbled. And my wife was with me. That was the worst part. And she just smiled. And I was like, don't say a word. I'm walking away from you right now. So, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a hammer that she has
Oh,
in her
yes.
toolbox now.
Oh, yes. I know. I know. But I guess it teaches me from picking on people. I don't know, you know, so it is, but yeah.
That's the kind of thing God sends you when you start, you know, thinking in your mind about, you know, the next one, number one hit, and He goes,
Exactly.
"Really? Let me send you this
Exactly.
person at Walmart, you know, to bring you back down."
Exactly. Exactly. That's exactly right.
Yeah, you know, I know that you said you didn't want to like, you know, get too serious or depressing and bring the podcast down, you know, with telling your story
Right.
and all that. But you know, I know how important it is for guys who are successful, for guys who have come out the other side to go back and share their story. You know, it's just like you were talking about with the young man in the car, you know, with the gun to his head. When you have the story and you've come through it and you're sitting there on the other side and you're whole again, you know, I mean, you're living unbroken at that point. It's what we talk about here, you know. At that point, it's a duty to share that story. So I want to thank you, man, for that, because I know that that's not the easy part of it. The easy part of it is, you know, we're laughing, having a good time, talking about success, and the hard part is digging deep and doing what you just did and helping guys through our podcast.
Right. And that's what I hope. I hope that whoever's listening to this, that you know and you understand that you have a purpose. And you may be going through something right now where you are ready to throw in the towel and say, I'm done. But you know what? God's picked that towel back up and he's thrown it back at you. And he said, wipe your face off and get back out there. You're not done yet, man. And you know, I mean, people depend on you, you know, and anybody out there that's got kids, your kids need you. But you hear a lot of this stuff, and I actually just had this conversation earlier today with a state legislator here in the state of North Carolina, and we were chit chatting, and I made or he made the statement. He said, you know, he said you hear a lot about deadbeat dads. He said, but you don't hear a lot about dads that are willing to step up to the plate and defy the odds when everybody else is trying to say sit down. And I was like, exactly, you know, and that's the thing. So I encourage you guys out there, you know, every one of us, we've got a purpose, we got a plan, and bond together, man. You know, find you somebody you can hang out with, chit chat, you know, and just bond and go out there. and win, because we've got to do this for our kids. In the world that we're living in today, if we're not going to show up and show off, and put our best foot forward, I mean, and that's something. I had a radio DJ out in Texas ask me this last week on it, well, a couple weeks ago before Thanksgiving, on an interview. He said, "Why do you keep going?" Because I do about 150 shows a year. Is what I do. And he said, You're so far away from home sometimes." He said, "It's tiring. You don't get sleep, blah, 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 blah." He said, "Why do you keep doing it, especially with all the stuff that you've gone through?" And I took a picture of my kids and I held it up and I said, "This is why." Because at the end of the day, I want my kids to be able to say, "Daddy didn't give up. Daddy kept fighting." And you don't understand how exciting it is for me when my kids are out playing with people, playing with the little their friends or whatever, at the park or something. And one of them, and this happens all the time, "Well, my daddy's a singer and he writes songs. You should hear his music." And it makes you feel so good to know that your kids believe in you. And when you're performing, my kids love to sit on the front row and they will belt out every single lyric of every one of my songs. And it makes you feel good because it makes you feel like you're doing something and giving them a path of success. That's
Right.
what you're doing,
Right.
is you're showing them how to succeed. Because if you don't, the world's just going to show them how to fail. And you don't want your kids to fail. So go be the dad that God's called you to be. And I mean, I've lived by this phrase: it's a sin to do less than your best. And
Mm.
if you don't give your foot, if you don't put your whole foot forward and do what's best for you and your family, then you're failing. And I refuse to do that because I do not want my kids to look at me as a failure. And so I encourage you, get out there, kick some rear end and make it happen. That's what I think.
I love that, man. And that's a great piece of advice to end on. You've given me so much of your time, man, and I really appreciate it. And I know that the guys who are listening to this at home are probably doing exactly what I'm doing right now. The folks who get to watch this on YouTube are going to see me like just nodding my head and going, "Yep," because you said it all, brother. I mean, you covered the whole gamut. And man, I cannot thank you enough because this is the type of thing that guys need to hear. It's the
Right.
type of thing guys need to hear. And, when you can wrap it all up in some really awesome music too, then that's just win-win, brother.
Well, I don't know if I'd call it really awesome music, but we'll go.
Yeah, I've got a couple of boys who are, 18 and 21. So, every once in a while,
There you go.
the
There you go.
awesome just comes out, man.
There you go. There you go,
Yeah.
for sure.
So, all right, man. I appreciate that. Let's see, you're easiest to reach and you want people to try and reach you through the social media platforms. I know that you're very active on Facebook and Instagram. So how can somebody connect with Shellem Cline?
All right. Well, first off, if you want to go to the website, we do have merchandise and everything on the website. The music's on there. It's shellemcline.com. So it's SHELL, E as in Edward, M as in Mary, Cline, CLINE, like Patsy Cline, shellemcline.com. You can check the website out there. And also, we're on Facebook and Instagram. Those are our two major platforms that we use. And it's Shellem Cline Music. So again, it's SHELLEM as in Mary, Cline, CLINE, music, MUSIC. Follow that on both Instagram and Facebook. What that will do, actually, I tell people all the time, I was like, if you don't mind, if you'll go follow, that way it looks like I have friends. Okay. Now, you may be sitting here saying, now look, I'm not sure if I like you. So why should I follow you? Well, there's an answer to that too, if you're asking that question, and this is for you. It's the Christian thing to do, so please just go do it. All right, there you go. That's how we look at it. So make sure you go follow Shellem Cline Music on Facebook and Instagram. Share it with all your friends, all your neighbors, the people you don't like. I'm really good with those folks. So just send it to anybody and everybody that you can. We're really trying to push the social media there. And of course, you've got our office number. We've got a Nashville office. And if any of you listening, if you ever do any type of special events or whatever, and think I would be cool to come hang out with you, do maybe a show, and then hopefully encourage your folks there. hey, give us a call. I'd love to come and hang out with you guys. Of course, that contact number is on both the website and the social media pages as well. So make sure you go check that out. And obviously, my music is all over Spotify, iTunes, YouTube, whole nine yards. You can go check all that out. And like I said, just make it look like I have friends. That's all I'm asking.
Now you said there's merch that's available. Is the 25-cent shirt on there?
The 25-cent shirt is no longer available. That one because it is so old. But I will tell you, we've got some really cool new merchandise. I actually think I'm wearing one of them. Yes, actually, the new Shellem Cline hat is look really cool. Man, my hair's bad in that. So those of y'all don't laugh at that. All right. So what happens when you wear a hat all day? But we've got that. That's my new logo, which is like a belt buckle, obviously, and has my name on it. We've got t-shirts. Got this really cool. All right. So my favorite color is camo. All right, that's just what my kids tell me. It's camo. That's my favorite color. So we have like that camo green shirt. We've got all kinds of stuff. Of course, the new album, Real Life. We've got hats and everything too. So, of course, and I will tell you this: anything that you purchase off of shellemcline.com, any of the merchandise you purchase, 100% of the proceeds is going to feed starving children. Mine. So,
I knew
if
you
you
were going somewhere.
if you want to be a blessing, there it worked, right? But yeah, definitely. If you're on social media or anything, please go follow us and shoot us a message. I really like. I've done a few different podcasts with some folks, and I always tell people if you don't mind, once you go follow the page, shoot me a message on there. Let me know that you heard about it, and it's just really cool. It's really cool to be able to see like what areas. I had a guy from I think it was Japan send me a message that he heard it on a podcast, and it was so cool, that you see different people and go from there and then learn their cultures and their stories
Sure.
and
Yeah.
so, yeah. So if you heard it on here, please go follow Shellem Cline Music and shoot me a message and let me know that you heard it on here for sure.
Right on. Right on. Well, I'll have all that stuff in the show notes just to make sure that we've got it all right, and so that everybody can reach it, and hopefully I can link it. They can just pop in there, but
Right.
we'll go from there. Shelm, I can't thank you enough, brother. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, for sure, man. Thank you so much for having me. And you guys keep smiling. You've got a work to do and you got a purpose. So go be what you need to be and be the best version of yourself you can be.
Right on, folks. This is Shellem Cline, and hope that you enjoyed this. Hope you guys go and check out his music if you haven't already. I'm telling you that the guy's incredibly gifted, and he's got a fantastic message. So definitely somebody that you can identify with as a real person, as a real man, as a real husband, as a real father. I'm always telling all you guys, as we wind this up, I'm always telling y'all that the reason you want to go and do these things, the reason you want to listen to people like Shellem, the reason you want to come to this podcast is because you need to do the work. You can't just sit there and listen to it and absorb it. You got to actually decide to do the work. And the reason you want to do that is because you're worth it. And you got to remember that. You always have to remember that you're worth it. You just have to believe it. Until next time.